A Republican Senator, Tim Scott, has joined Senators Bill Cassidy and Rand Paul in legislation proposed to make it easier for companies to offer gig workers benefits without making them full-time employees. Senator Scott joins us this morning with the details. Senator, it's good to have you on this morning.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning. Good to be back with you. I hope you're doing great.
We're doing great. Hope the same for you, Senator. The three Republicans,
yes,
would this ever be bipartisan? To me, it seems like it's something we definitely want to do, make it easier for gig workers to access benefits, and they could be portable.
Yes.
And then I think, I'll bet you Democrats wouldn't like this, because there's a lot of places where they want to make they don't want gig workers because they can't do minimum wage type stuff, and I don't know, and guarantee other worker benefits. What's the problem with Democrats and gig workers?
You know, Joe, that's a great question. We need to go to California and ask about the PRO Act if we're going to have that conversation. The PRO Act basically said we're going to stop Uber drivers from making decisions on whether they're working for Uber, Lyft, or whomever. We're going to stop folks from delivering food. We're going to stop independent contractors in insurance and financial services. They want to have an oppressive environment for work. What we need as a country is exactly the opposite of what the Democrats want in California. We want an environment that is conducive to increase our labor force participation by giving workers the kind of environment that allows them to choose who they work for, when they work, and how they're going to be compensated. If we can get there by relaxing the tests on the common law with the NLRA, we find ourselves in a position where we can attract more people back to the workforce. And as you know, Joe, with the benefits for businesses and the big, beautiful bill, plus deregulation and an environment that attracts more workers back to the workforce, we could have this economy humming. Why Democrats want to stand in the way of working families finding their path to higher income, keeping their benefits longer, and not having leakage in their 401k plans, I don't understand that. The good news is I think there are Democrats in the Senate who want to work together for the working families across this country. Well, I think we'll get this done, actually.
It's confusing. I don't know if you will. It is confusing. It reminds me sometimes of like charter schools, or the idea that charter schools means that public schools won't be any good, and it's almost terrible. It almost looks like it's entrenched union support. Or is that the same thing with this? Is this anti-union if you have portable benefits for gig workers?
It doesn't have to be without any question.
But is that what their argument?
45% of the.
Yeah, is that the argument?
That's the argument coming out of California. Coming out of California, they wanted to do everything they possibly can to empower unions. What we want to do as a nation is give people options and choice. Optionality is incredibly important for the 21st century worker. They don't always want to be an employee. Sometimes they're better off being a contractor, so they're working for 3 or 4 different companies at the same time. That kind of flexibility allows for folks to meet their needs at home and at work, and frankly, from an educational perspective as well. I used to be an independent contractor before I became an employer who hired independent contractors. So this is something that's quite personal for me. I started working on auto portability and 401ks back during the first Trump administration. The easier we make it for folks to have their benefits, 401ks and health plans, the more likely people are to come back to the workforce, stay in the workforce, and actually make a lot more money. Who's against making more money for the average American family? I'm not.
The great Robert Johnson, our friend, that's a huge thing that he's trying to work on. It makes no sense not to be able to move things around. It hurts the people you're trying to help. It seems
exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Bob Johnson and I actually partnered together back during the first Trump administration. If you think about the small 401k plans, an employee leaves the place of employment and they want to go work somewhere else. They either leave their money behind or they cash it out. That's what we call leakage. When you cash it out, that's devastating. First, you pay that 10% penalty. Second, you don't have that money when you need it when you're retired. And third, you get into the habit of not thinking about your retirement. Anytime we can put the employee or the contractor, the worker, in a position to keep their benefits, lock them up so it's there when they desperately need it, when they're no longer working. This is what
Senator,
we call
would you need 60 votes? I don't know how but it's inscrutable how you guys operate down there half the time. So you got 3 Republicans. Would you need 60? You won't get. There's just no way. It's the board collective. They won't vote for you on this.
I believe that if the Democrats want to have any chance at all to make sense in front of the American people, they're going to vote for this legislation when it comes to the full in front of the full Senate. We'll get it done. I'm very optimistic. I'm an optimistic person, but the truth of the matter is, on the banking committee, I was able to move legislation around fentanyl 23-0, on banks 22-1. There is a bipartisan coalition that's available if we thread the needle and sell it right. Let's not sell it as Republicans versus Democrats. Let's sell it as the American worker making a decision that's in her best interest. If we do that, we have a real shot at making this legislation a law.
I mean, can you name one of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle that would vote for this?
I can tell you that there are several on my banking committee where I'm the chairperson that I was able to get 5 Democrats to support the Genius Act, cryptocurrency, when the ranking member was opposed to it. So, yes, there is a way for us to thread that needle. It takes
That's a totally different thing.
Joe, every bill is different. So what we have to do, buddy, is make sure that we keep working hard at that coalition, because the coalition's available. I've done the same thing with AI with Chris Coons. We continue to look for partners where there's common ground that makes common sense. If we find that here, and I think we can move it forward. It will not be from California. It won't be from New York, and it won't be from Illinois. But there are folks from other states that may work with us.
We've seen, some members of the Senate and House, they make a career out of writing legislation that is never going anywhere. And I just was wondering whether this is part. They know who they are, right? I mean, and it's, I can't. If I told my staff that, if I had a staff, which I don't, to do something that I knew was never going to pass, how do they do that? It's like to make a statement.
Yeah, so we don't do that, Joe. We get things done. As a matter of fact, my apprenticeship programs that some people say no Democrats will support, Cory Booker has worked with me on that. So the good news is that we have really good, solid examples of bipartisanship. If it's red versus blue, we're in trouble. But if it's red, white, and blue, we actually win.
Okay. All right. Hope springs. I've said that a couple times today. Hope springs eternal, Senator. Good luck. I hope you are. I think this makes sense, but who am I? Anyway, thanks for your time today, Senator.
You're a smart cookie. We'll see you soon.
Smart cookie.